Mike, pleasure to have you here. We planned it for the last I don't know, a couple months since our first we made contact, and I'm so thrilled for our chat. Uh, how have you been in the last few weeks, few months with the bloody lockdown, and has it affected your life in any way?
Yeah, well, obviously it's been pretty full on with everything, but in some respects it's been good. I mean, for me, with my training, it means I've been able to train pretty much every day, just focus on what I'm doing. No physios can come, so it's up to me to get the job done, really, so it's brilliant. I've enjoyed it. It's had its pros and cons, but I met my girlfriend during lockdown. Fantastic. I've never spoke to someone for 2 months and then not actually met them. So obviously when we met, it was brilliant. And you fall in love with that person. So I can't actually complain about lockdown.
Well, to be fair, I'm really lucky because I work in social care.
Yeah.
And we have so much work. So you still have to train the nurses. You still have to train the carers. So and that's what I do. So I can't complain. But it's just a shame to see the economy going down. So many people getting sick, and it has a huge impact on people who need help from NHS.
Yeah,
Because obviously there's so many procedures, operations cancelled, postponed, and I think people are suffering. And we will be talking a lot about mental health because I know you're really hot on it. But it's staying at home, not seeing your friends, your family has a massive impact on your mental health. And again, we'll mention it. We'll talk about a lot of mental health aspect of our life later on. But it's such a important part of our life. Goes hand in hand with our physical health. And in many ways, I think mental health is even more important.
100%.
It's easier to get ill with your mental health than your physical health, and very often people don't see it.
Comes hand in hand, doesn't it? I think, if you're ill mentally, things are bad and bad things happen. If you're positive things happen.
That's very true. And what's horrible about mental health is that you can't see it. You see these celebrities committing suicides because of poor mental health, and you think, well, they appeared on this show last week and they were laughing. They were joking. They had a lovely presentation, and what happened? So physical health, you see broken leg, you see a cast, or you see someone in a wheelchair, and you think, okay, yeah, they had an injury, they're unwell. But with mental health, you can't really say, and it had such a negative impact on on people when you're stuck in your house, you can't go anywhere, when you're used to training a lot and suddenly you can't go to the gym, especially elderly as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, not being able to train is definitely, I think it would affect a lot of people, and being able to train is therapy, isn't it?
It is, and I mean, I had so many guests on who were really deep into martial arts and training, and it's the consistency, it's the routine, it's the respect of your sparring partners and your friends. It's part of your life, and suddenly when it stopped, people get lost. Every now and then I meet up with my friends who are professional fighters, and they're really suffering. Apart from their businesses going down and closing, and people losing a lot of money. It's just sad to see amazing fighters, athletes just getting anxious about their life, depressed about what the future holds. So obviously we'll talk a lot more in depth about what had happened to you with regards to your accident. However, I really want to explore your life prior to it. Okay, so obviously there is a massive difference to your life now.
Yeah.
And life before the accident. So how, if you had to describe yourself before the accident, what would you say you were like before the accident?
So I was 100 mile an hour doing different things, training, loved training. I'd be out on the bikes, loved going out on the bikes, with my friends. We'd meet up quite socially, I really enjoyed swimming. I'd just be out all the time. I mean, when we were younger, we used to set up a lot of raves, you know, big speakers, floor to ceiling, out on the beach, absolutely having it, you know, and then in the forest, it didn't matter. That was every weekend for like, you know, a good 5 years, and I don't regret any of it. I mean, you look at what the party scene's like. You know, I've done it. I'm like this. It doesn't matter. I've been there, done it, and I don't regret any of it. It was absolutely amazing. Like the stuff that you do, I don't know. You won't get that anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, I did a little bit of stalking on your social media, and you did some crazy things. Axe throwing.
Yeah, I mean, I do like throwing the odd axe or knife about. Yeah, or get it on a rope dart. Fling it, you know, pretty much I do make some weapons, throw them. It was good. It was all part of, obviously, martial arts and stuff like that. You know, I'd be training with nunchucks and I'd be like, wow, what if I could do that? And then throw a knife. And it was just like, you know, it's the flow of movement, isn't it? Once you understand it, you know, you want to apply it. And, you know, I get a big buzz out of, you know, running around, sticking targets, you know, shooting. It's just nice. It's like making everything click, you know. Obviously, like this, I've thrown a couple of knives. I'm more focusing on recovery. You know, I've flung a couple out the wheelchair. You know, it's good. It's quite noisy, and I think trying to pick them up, I was thinking of different ways to get them, like a lip picker with a magnet to get them. But I was like, I'll just get better, focus on that rather than potentially hurting myself. But
So you did football as well.
I did football when I was younger, and then I played a bit of rugby up until school. And then after school, it was mainly gym, martial arts, you know, training like that. So
what martial arts?
So it was like sort of karate based, but it was all applied to street fighting. So I trained with someone who just directly taught me, and we trained twice a week, 3 times a week in the garden. You know, he was South African, ex-Special Forces, so he knows his stuff. And I got ragdolled about, but that's the best way to train. You know, you want to beat that guy. You work hard, you get taught, you know, that's where you are. You know your place, you respect that guy, you respect everything. You know, that's what martial arts is. It's discipline and knowing your place.
Yeah. So you basically lived your life to the fullest and to the maximum.
100%.
So there was partying, there was, you know, enjoying life, you know, huge emphasis on being fit.
Yes, 100%.
So you understood that physical health is really important, but there was a lot of partying, sports, etc., and suddenly this massive change. But apart from you know, partying, living life to the fullest, you had this. Well, you still have this sort of mischievous side to you.
Yeah.
Because I found out about you through your sister, Lisa. Shout out to Lisa from Patchway. And the way I found out you was that she was she was obviously talking about you quite a lot, and then she was showing us picture of stuff you used to send her every now and then.
See, when you say that, I'll just think of all the pictures I've sent Lisa. None of them are really appropriate, but I'm trying to think of which one you're relating to. You know, the poor girl to be tortured.
Yeah, but obviously it's just what I think is really important, that everyone who watches it understand what sort of person you were before. You were a funny, mischievous guy with, you know, love of life, partying, and it's really important that everyone understands that, you know, because of what we're going to discuss later on, you know, how it's going to impact your life, and how the life that you led in the past prepared you for what happened later. So I think it's really important, because very often people are quite, they're hesitating to, you know, risk a little bit and you know, go out there and enjoy their lives, because they're afraid, but they should, because otherwise, what's the point?
Well, you might end up like this. But that's the risk that you take. I mean, at the end of the day, you can't live your life in fear, whether it's with today's life with the coronavirus, whether it's getting on the motorbike, whether it's throwing something at a target. You know, you never know what's going to happen, but you deal with that when it happens. You know, don't wait for life to come and, you know, someone to come give you something to do. You've got to make it happen.
Absolutely. It's, you know, risking is just part of our life.
Yeah, that's part of the thrill, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, no one be training, martial arts if they, if they were told, well, you can't risk it.
Well, the thrill is, when you end up in combat and it's 1v1, and if you beat them, there's no better feeling than knowing you won, because of what you've learned.
and even in my area of expertise, moving and handling, there's a lot of fear about, because I do a lot of assessments on elderly because if they're falling, and very often I hear people say, oh, this person is at risk of falling. Let's keep them safe at home, without any risk. And very often my answer to this is no. Let's embrace the risk. Let's make it as safe as possible. But let's make sure that this person will have access to community. Will be able to see their friends, their family. Why would they be locked in their house?
It's more safe to have that little risk and let them go and do their things. Yes. That will make them positive, rather than being stuck at home. That's a risk in my eyes. Absolutely. Because you're limiting them to what they can do.
Yeah, and obviously there's a huge part of it that with movement, the more people move, circulation is,
move it or lose it.
Absolutely, your respiratory system is improved. Your mental well-being is improved. You're less likely to become incontinent when you're older. There's so many benefits to just going out there and moving about. But I think we're on the same page here, so that's fantastic. So one of the things that you enjoyed doing was motocross.
Yeah.
Okay. So have you done it many times in the past? Was it something was it your hobby or?
So really, like with my bike, whereas you could go on the road and off the road, I'd go green laning. So, you can go off, you can go down tracks, which it's fine for you to go down, but it's like proper hardcore, go over like, obstacles, or I'd get up early, go down to the beach, like when no one's around, 5 o'clock, just drive around the island along the seashore. It's lovely. Things like that, you can't just go and do. You've just got to think, I'm going for it. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the sort of feeling when you're there, the sun's coming up and you're on a bike in the middle of like the beach, like waves, and you think to yourself, this is euphoric. You see people do it on like YouTube and you think, why can't I do that? Well, the answer is you can. You just got to go and enjoy it. So
on the day of the accident, was it it wasn't the first time you did motocross?
No. So I'd been out. The track was it was a beastly track. It's at Oxfordshire. It's Ashdown, and I mean, there's big jumps there. There's big steep hills that go down like that, and then you have to absolutely smash it to come up and fly off.
So you have to hit the accelerator a lot.
Hit it. So, but I mean, that day was definitely one of the best days of my life. Even now, like I mean, me, Dave, and Sean. It was a beautiful summer's day. We got there all in a good mood. All the bikes were all lush, all serviced, ready to go. Like, bah, 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 like proper. You're there with your mates, just like having it around there. We were looking after each other. Like, I've been pinged off a couple of times, like, no drama. Got back up. They waited for me up the road. And then we'd done all the really, big hardcore things. It was about 2:30, I think it was. And I was like, okay, my arms are getting tired, so I made the decision not to keep going on the really big jumps and the risky bits. I thought I'd just go around it's like a nice figure of 8. It's like foresty on one side, and on the other side it's like got quite a big lip that goes round, because obviously you can pin it round there.
Yeah.
And what actually happened was I'd been going around it, practicing my cornering. It was all nice, getting some good footage on the GoPro. My mates like caning it off. It was brilliant. It was absolutely awesome. And then I'd just come round it, and I hit a little rock, sort of speed wobble like that, and I thought, okay, grab the handlebars to stabilise, and I just pinned the accelerator full throttle without meaning to, and it was like stuck. So as I came round the corner, obviously the lip goes up like that, it just smashed me, and I was flying. Underneath's like another track where you sort of come back on the figure of 8, and I was coming down, I was thinking, oh sweet, I might land there, but I went too far. The bike hit the floor, threw me even further, so I flew about probably 22 feet or something, and then just it spat me off, and I rotated around, so it smack on my back, and I had a big armoured plate on my back. First time I've ever worn armour, because I thought it'd be sensible, as you do, and I think that must have saved me, because in some respects, because where it was curved, when it hit it, all the pressure must have just come around the spike on my lower vertebrae, which obviously left me paralysed. But as I laid there, because I went flying through the air, I thought to myself in the air, I was like, how on earth did I? And then that was it. I was on the floor.
How high
did you go? It was high, because I was looking and there was nothing around me. It was just, you know, it was sketchy, but it went slow motion, and I was just like, you know, it's at this point Mike knew he fucked up. So flying through the air, hit the floor, and then I sort of rolled, and then I had mud all in my mouth, but it's from smiling where I was driving around the track, like obviously shouting like, yeah, you know, going over the bumps and stuff like that. And I quickly whipped my helmet off, and I was like, went to move, and there was nothing. And I was like, I was in pain, like a lot of pain, but I was like, I can't feel anything there. And I was like, that's weird. And then I went to get up, nothing. And then I realised there and then, I was like, I've broke my back. I'm actually, you know, I'm paralysed.
So did you land directly on your lower back and pelvis?
So as I was flying through the air with the bike sort of slowly went like that, and then obviously.
So you were still on the bike?
Oh, yeah, I was still holding on, and then the bike sort of landed and spat me off like that, and I rotated round. I think I must have landed on, because I broke my pelvis, my coccyx. I got a punctured lung somehow in surgery, and I landed sort of on my chin somehow as well. But I mean, to look at, I only had a little scratch there, but I was absolutely battered. I took my helmet off, and Dave came round. He went, "You all right?" And I went, "No." And he went, "Medic!" And went off and went in search for the medic. And the marshals were really good. I mean, they came down, and you know, I was there, but they were like, "Don't move, don't move." And above me was like a big circular clearing where the sun was just beating through, and it was hot, man. It was really hot. And
because it was July, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really dry and dusty. And so I was laying there, and then, you know, someone came and gave me some water and things like that. And then the marshals came over and they called an ambulance, but they shut the track. And when they shut the track, obviously all the traffic was sort of divulging out one way, so the ambulance couldn't get there. Eventually the sort of paramedics turned up, but at this point I've been on the floor screaming in agony for like about an hour and a half. And then it sort of, before that happened, it got to the point where I was having a casual chat with my mate. I was like, "This is weird, isn't it?" And he's like, "Yeah." And there was a girl that just appeared. Her name was Carly. She was like, "Do you want some water?" And I was like, "Oh my God, yes, I want some water." So I was so thirsty, it was unreal. And so we were all just like laid there, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll go for."
Were you still in your full gear?
Still in my full gear at this
point. So you
point.
didn't know the extent of the damage?
No, I didn't know
Nothing.
the extent. And they were like, "Don't move, you know, don't take anything off." And I said to Sean, I was like, "Quickly, go find my GoPro, mate." I was like, "I don't know where my GoPro is." And I was like, "That's got that on there, you know," because I wanted to see what happened, because I didn't really know what had happened. And then, he sort of found, he's like, "Yeah, I've got it, mate." Paramedics turned up, and I said, "Oh, quickly take a picture then, so I can, you know, reflect on this moment." And then I laid there, and they sort of cut all my clothes off, and it was like quite new gear. I was like, no, like, you know, cutting it off. And then obviously it was quite weird that I was just laid there like in my boxers, like, "You all right, mate?" You know what I mean, with loads of people around me, sort of still in agony. And then they came over and sort of gave me gas and air for a bit, and I was laying there for what seemed like an eternity. And in the end, what happened was the helicopter had come, and it had landed in a field, and you know, like my mates and the marshals, they couldn't get me to there, so they got this big, massive, like 4x4 thing. They loaded me on a stretcher and then like picked me up, shoved me. It was surreal, like what was going on. And the whole time I was just thinking, I was like, I don't want to know what's happened, but I know what's happened. You know what I mean? So I was like, still not in shock because I was so calm. It was so strange.
But did you suspect that it's really serious?
Yeah, I knew I'd broken my back. I knew I was paralysed because, you know, I've done some crazy stuff and got away with murder, but this was something else, you know, that just there wasn't a connection to actually move anything, you know, nothing. And there wasn't even an option. It's like almost like if you're playing a game, you take out a couple of buttons, there's nothing to say, "Oh, move," no feeling, you know. It wasn't, at that point, it was like, it wasn't even vibrating or anything like that. You know, later on it was just completely numb and like vibrating like that mentally, but it wasn't there. So, and then they loaded me in a helicopter, and I was hanging off the gas and air and got taken to John Radcliffe. So it was intense, like, but the last bit sort of was almost, I don't know, it was like a bit euphoric because I was laying there in so much pain. It didn't seem real because we were all so chilled, like just waiting for an air ambulance to take me away because I'm possibly paralysed. And you know, me and my friend just having a casual conversation. So I was like, "Sorry, boys," and he's like, "Yeah, I'll get your bike back," you know. Do
you remember the flight?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, all I looked at was the square of the ceiling because I was bolted up like that, and I was just
obviously
sucking on the gas and air. There was actually helicopter people that were filming it. And they were going to use the footage, but I don't know if it's actually happened or not. But I'd like to get hold of that at some point. That'd be good to see. But I think, to be honest, they probably won't use it because I've just been going,
Well, maybe they film it for training purposes, I guess,
Yeah.
for the future. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's just insane. Insane.
And the whole time it was in a helicopter, I was just thinking, my bike, man, like it was just been, my friend had spent a long time cleaning it, making it look lush, and then like it was running a dream, and I was so happy, and I was like, no. It's like, it'd be like if you got a brand new car and just wrote it off straight away.
Yeah.
No.
It's like priorities. You think about your bike and your gear.
That's part of riding bikes, man. You just think, I'm okay, is the bike okay? The
Yeah.
bike was not okay, neither was I.
So do you remember getting to hospital and what happened straight after? So the first chat you had with the doctor?
Yeah, she was like, she goes, I'm just going to do something for the pain. And I was like, that'd be nice. She was like, this is ketamine. And I was like, oh, yeah. And she went, this might make you feel a bit funny. I was like, I don't think it will, love. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, yeah, I did that. And then I was sort of laid in this room, like almost waiting. And then they loaded me into somewhere that they did a CT scan. And then from the CT scan, it was all a bit hazy from there. And then I eventually got operated on. I think I waited probably about 4 hours and then got operated
the
on.
same day?
Yeah, the same day. Because it was, what had happened was I found out later, the vertebrae, L3 vertebrae, I didn't just break it, it exploded into fragments. So there was nothing there of it. And it had gone into all the nerves, into all the tissue, and the guy that operated on me said that he was there for 6.5 hours trying to get pieces out. He said there's still more in there, but they'd have to open me up from the front to get them. And he said to me, when it, yeah.
So the impact of you hitting the ground forced bits of your vertebrae forward in your body.
The whole square bit literally just went like that. It was almost like it sprayed like a shotgun spray. It was gone. Seal it bang. The dirt was gone. It was gone. Yeah.
Wow. Do you know what? My blood pressure has gone up just listening to it. Oh my God, I'm shaking. So who and when bring you the first news?
Okay, so
on what's wrong, what's damaged,
Okay, so I'd come round and I think my mum was there. She looked quite concerned, and I think someone sort of slightly said, didn't really know because it was all a bit sketchy. And then the doctor came in and he basically said, he's very expressionless, almost emotionless, cold. So I was like, yeah, it's going to be bad news. Mm-hmm. And then so he came in and he said to me, he goes, I've done what I can. We've taken out all the fragments and stuff like that. There's still more in there. Your nerves are extremely crushed and damaged. And he said, you're never going to walk again. And I just turned around to him and I went, challenge accepted. Because, I'm not going to be told that. He doesn't know me. He knows my injury, but he doesn't know me. Most people, you get told that. And, you think about that point in time. It's like, it's all fresh. It's all raw. You're mullered and stuff like that. And you think, no, I'm not having that. I'm going to do every single thing I can, everything in my power to prove this guy wrong.
Absolutely.
Because he does not know me.
Yeah. And funny enough, how our minds work more or less the same. Because I think I would have reacted the same way. I used to be in a band years and years ago, and one of our EPs was titled "Challenge Accepted."
Oh, brilliant! Excellent.
So. Have you had a moment, because I just keep imagining it in my head that you wake up, it's like these scenes from movies when people wake up after an injury, maybe operation, very, very serious stuff, and they wake up and they go like, oh, okay, head's there, arms, okay, can I feel my legs? Did you have this sort of sinking in moment where you woke up and you realised the extent of the damage and what sort of impact it might have on your future life?
Yeah, so similar to what you said, that's there, blah, blah, blah. I woke up, saw my willy, flicked it, had a catheter in it, right? Nothing. And I was like, all right, yeah, so it's my legs and that is it. I was like, okay, then do another quick little check. Like, I can't feel my legs. Okay, yeah, good. But in my head, it was like, I already knew what I'd done. I think the worst thing was like where I was cut open from the back, had a draining pipe coming out of there. I was like, bloody hell, like, this is quite intense. The reality of it sinking in was, I mean, I took it, but then at the same time I knew that if I broke then, it's like a snowball. You'll never get back on top. So the option wasn't really there for me. The realisation, kicked in, and it was more, what am I going to do, rather than, oh shit.
So you were, well, that's great. So you were already thinking about the future. So you didn't give up. It was just, okay, what do I need to do to basically prove them wrong?
Yeah, I know, 100%. I think it did. It was hard because I had nothing to compare it to. You see people that are disabled, you look at them in a wheelchair, but you just assume that they can't walk. It's not actually that. There's a lot more to it. But for me, it was so fresh. I didn't know anyone in that situation. So for me, I just had to research and find out exactly, people that have been in the same sort of situation. Because for me, my cordial equina it's like the horse's tail of nerves, I'm sure you know. But that's what everything hit, and if they've been severed, chances are it's not going to work again. But for me, I wanted to know if things had been crushed, or, the things that had been damaged, if they would heal and stuff like that. But I had so many unanswered questions and no one could give it to me. So I just had to focus my attention on that. And it's hard at the time because the pain levels were insane. Like, I think nearly drove me crazy because I wasn't sleeping. You hear people sort of screaming, and you're at this high, like, it's like revving your car. You're at high revs all the time, pressing for pain relief. The pain relief doesn't come. You're there, and it's your lifeline. And it just wasn't doing anything. But I think when that sort of eased off a bit, I could sort of focus on what I was thinking.
In these first few days after, so when everything sank in, have you had anyone around you, like family and friends? And did their presence help in any way?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, my mum, she was like a rock. She was there every day pretty much. There was only a couple of days she didn't, and she would have been there if she could. Like, she was there all, driving 3-4 hours. What a legend, I can't thank her enough. My sister
shout out
to shout out to my mum. Legend. And I mean, like, obviously my dad would come see me, and my sisters and friends and stuff like that, but through thick and thin she was there all the time, making sure. And it's when you get visits in hospital, and for me, like, I've always been a very independent person, and like when you said, the reality was I couldn't do that. I couldn't look after myself. I couldn't do what I'd normally do. So having someone like your mum come and look after you, it's like the level of care, compassion there, that's what keeps you sane, is being able to keep your dignity to some degree. I mean, obviously you don't have much in the hospital, but when someone comes, she was like getting me nice food, things like that, stuff that keeps you mentally sort of strong.
Well, having your mum there brings a bit of normality to your life. Okay, that's my mom just looking after me.
Yeah,
that's
but
so important.
Yeah, but it's lovely that someone can do that, because she's had quite a challenging life, but she's always come out on top. And for me, it's just nice to have that person that cares. Obviously I had my friends and my family and other people come as well, like I said, my sisters. But yeah, ultimately, I mean, she was there. She was brilliant. Like, I can't fault her.
And I mentioned that I kept stalking you on Facebook and social media, because I saw several posts literally on the day. There were a couple of before you getting ready. There's a motorbike and then your gears. Like, okay, everything.
Yeah, lovely day for it. Yeah, what for getting paralysed.
And then there's literally few days break, and then there's like avalanche of messages from your friends. Hope you're okay. What the hell happened? Are you all right? Tell me, can you give me, a call, send me a message? So you must have felt this sort of, again, like an avalanche of positivity from all your mates. In that respect,
I mean, from the support I've had from people in Halen, honestly, it's overwhelming. I'm such a lucky person to have all the people. Like, I mean, people in Halen Island, they've all been rooting for me, all been showing their support. I mean, you've got people like Mike Bayes, the Lions Club, that donated money to help me get my wheelchair. My friends, absolutely amazing. The boys, literally, they constructed my garage and turned it into a wet room. Like all my close friends, and they've all mucked in. My other friend got me a standing frame. You know, I've got such good friends and a good support network of people, and I'm really privileged because not many people would have that. And I mean, for me, something like that, if someone does something like that for me, I will never forget it, you know, and that's part of the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I want to give back. You know, I can't give back, unfortunately, you know, to things that would probably help them so much, but I will give back 100%. And with the support and stuff, for me, you know, it's absolutely, you know, it warms your heart.
Absolutely.
It's nice knowing that you've got people out there looking out for you.
And obviously, strong mental health plays a massive role, but it does help when you have this sort of network of you know, friends, family, and you know, they throw this positive vibes towards you. It just makes it so much easier. But going back to mental health, because it's so important, and I, you know, I've been doing a lot of researching about things like, you know, mental health and you know, martial arts and mental health in general, mental well-being. Which part of yourself do you think suffered more in this horrific accident? Was it your physical or mental health? Which one do you think is more resilient? Which one suffered more?
Interesting question, that, because obviously it really hit home for me when I did manage to get out and I had my first shower. I was there in a nappy because I was incontinent at the time. You know, I kept crapping myself all the time. You know, my belly would rumble and it would just come out. I had no clue what was going on. And I looked in the mirror long and hard and I saw, you know, before I went in there, I was 15 stone, built, you know, proper solid. You know, I've been working very hard. And to look in the mirror and see literally nothing on my legs, like they had withered away fast. You know,
how long after the accident was it?
I would say, you know, after a couple of weeks it was noticeable, but then literally my legs just disappeared. Like they weren't getting used, but I'd say after a couple of months they were just bone. Literally, it was like looking at a skeleton. You know, and I'd sit there and I'd look at myself and I'd be like, you know, that's just not me. You know, all through my life being this big, like not in that sort of way, but like powerful. I would get anything done. You know, and then looking at that person, I'd be like, you know, what is this? You know, so for me that was very hard because everything I'd worked hard for, you know, all my martial arts I trained for years and years and years, I can't do. You know, I can't go and train. That's my therapy. So for that was hitting me like a sledgehammer. But then, you know, a lot of it was difficult because especially with the bladder and bowels. I mean, being incontinent, so I'd get showered, go down for a coffee, and then I'd get a belly rumble and mess myself, and I'd be like, wow, is this gonna keep happening? You know, what's going on? You know, with the catheters attached on the back of the wheelchair, and then I was thinking about getting a colostomy bag just to sort that out. But to be fair, throughout the whole journey, I mean, I ended up becoming more mentally stronger because I was like, I'm not going to let this beat me. You know, everything that I've ever done, I've pushed myself to the extreme. And for me, this is just the ultimate challenge, you know. And it's not to go and be something spectacular or set these humongous goals which you work, you know, a long period of time for. Because before, I would set stupid goals and I'd only be happy when I achieved them. For me now, my goal is to live a normal life, or as close to normal as I can, or if I can't get that, I'd own it being like this, you know. So mental health, yeah, it was hard, you know, borderline insanity, you know, because for me, I have a problem, it goes round and round and round in your head till I solve it, you know, but you can't do that. So you have to learn to live one day at a time and own that day. Make sure in that day you're happy, learn to be happy with what you've got. And if you've got nothing, you know, you don't. It's a matter of perspective. You can either see that and think it's gold, or, you know, you can win. It's just literally how you see it. And for me, the mental strength came, and I was like, that hasn't broken me. I've gone through the hardest bit. It's not going to. So,
yeah, that's. Do you know what? I think people realise more and more these days the importance of mental health. I think it's more important than physical. I keep telling my kids about it as well. You know, they complain that they can't have this, they can't have that, and you know, there are kids, you know, all around the world who don't have half of what they have, and it's just, as we said, the matter of perspective.
Yeah, I mean, for me, being in hospital, like I always had like bikes or stuff that I'd wear towards and things like that. But when I was in hospital for so long, I had a lot of time to think about everything, and I realised I don't need anything apart from good people around you. You know, and my materialistic mind's almost faded away. And I, you know, obviously I used to work, have a good job, have lots of money, stuff like that. Whereas now it's like, you know, I haven't worked in a long time, and it's more, I make the best out of what I've got, 100%, and I love it. I'm so much happier now than I was before, and that's because I've chose to be, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So would you say this scene you described in the shower, was it like a breakthrough moment for you?
So, I looked at myself, I cried, I got angry, I got frustrated, and then I turned it into motivation. You know, it's like a cycle, and that's what I do now. If I see a challenge like that, I just turn it into fuel for the fire. You know, it's you know, if you don't like that, do something about it. Don't just sit there and whine about it. You know, and I apply that principle to anything. You know, anything that I can.
Okay.
Some things are out of your control, obviously, but you know, you get the option, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. Has it ever crossed your mind to give up, or is it well, it wasn't an option for you at all?
So I had a couple of moments where, say for example, the metalwork in my back. I'd been training and stuff like that, and I could feel it getting tighter and tighter. I had some physio, and it didn't quite go how I thought it'd go. The following day, I was really tight. Bent down to get some shower gel, and it just went like that, pop, echoed around the room. Okay, and the pain in my back, so the metalwork had snapped, and I knew it had snapped, but I thought, you know, the muscles were like exploding with pain.
So can you explain the metalwork? What was it?
So I have two fixed rods that go from L2 to L4, and they were, because obviously there wasn't a vertebrae in the middle, so what they were doing is bracing my spine, and I'd gone over, and it's like a coat hanger. After a while, it will snap. So obviously they were too tight, or, you know, where I had infection, you know, because I had an infected wound for a long time, I think it ate away at the metalwork and weakened it. So when I leaned down to get it and it popped, you know, straight away I had to get an x-ray. But the following day I'd gone and got a personal best in swimming. You know, I'd been to the gym, you know, because I thought, maybe it's not that, you know, don't let your mind get you down. And anyway, I got an x-ray and it's confirmed what I thought. So when obviously that happened, I knew I had to have surgery again. And for me, that was like a big downer, because it's like everything I'd worked hard for, the fear of, you know, losing more movement, the fear of losing what I'd worked, you know, my muscles, my neurological stuff, because I said, you know, you sign these forms that have things that are about that big, saying basically anything that happens is what it is, you know what I mean? You can't help it. You could be more paralysed. You could never feel again. You know, your manhood might not work, stuff like that. So when that happened, I thought, oh shit, you know, got me proper down, and I was like, no, I'm not quitting. No way. You know, it wasn't ever an option, but that hit home like a sledgehammer. You know.
So did it brought you back to square one, more or less?
Yeah, near enough.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but the fortunate thing was, I still had sort of ability to move what I did have, but I'd lost all my muscle again. So it was like starting again. You know, major kick in the teeth.
Oh.
And then it was like, you know, what do you do? And it's like, I want to get it back. You know, I've got to keep driving, keep getting that. I've done it once, I can do it again, you know. So, no, giving up was never an option.
And when was that?
That was probably about 9 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
So in your recovery, have you researched anyone who experienced similar things to you? Have you had any sort of inspiration?
So on YouTube, I've seen videos of like people who haven't walked for, say, 10 years and then suddenly start walking. And for me, that just confirmed what I thought, you know, what if the doctors are wrong? You know, what if someone sat there and said to someone, you're never going to walk again, and that person doesn't do it because he believes the doctor, and that person's wasted their life. That guy could have done it years and years ago. He just didn't believe in himself, you know. So seeing that was just evidence to me that this guy could be wrong. I see a guy called Zach Rule. He's got stubs for legs. But he's like doing muscle ups, you know, he's an absolute animal. And I thought to myself, if I'm going to be disabled, I'm going to be like that guy. You know, he is the man. And I was like, what's the difference? You know, obviously I've got metalwork, I've got to be careful with it, but there's no difference. You just work ways around it, don't you? You know, if I'm going to be like that, I'll be the best possible version of me I can be, you know. So, and also, you know, I watched lots of motivational videos of like, you know, people recovering and things like that. And I just thought, you know, the way my brain works, it's like, do it. You know, it never goes away. So being stuck like this, it just means I've just got to be a bit more careful with the decisions that I make, but it's never going to stop me.
Yeah. And again, mental health, God, it's so important.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's some sort of we are naturally predisposed to be so hard and you know, accept all the challenges, or depending on the circumstances and environment, anyone can do it?
I think that's purely down to the individual. For me, like, you know, I've had my hardships and stuff like that, and I had an option to just roll over and say yeah, or to smash it. You know, it's difficult, isn't it? Because I think things like this accident could define me. You know, could just literally change my life and just be like, okay, yeah, I accept that. But no, you know, depends what sort of a person you are. If you just sit there and, you know, you're like, yeah, okay, I'm a yes man, blah blah blah, or if you're just chipping away, like for me, my inside's like it's like churning, and in the churning to just go nuts and do something and expel myself, and like being like this, it's like there's only so much you can do, so you do it well, you know, you go for it. So I think things like that aren't, you know, learned, they're earned, you know, mentally. It depends on how much you want something, because if you want it, you'll go and get it. It just depends on how much you want it.
Absolutely. And you know what, we talked about you before the accident, and I did it on purpose, because what you did in the past had a massive impact on your character, on your personality, on your drive now. Because I'm quite new to martial arts. I've been doing it for about 5 years, but I've been talking about martial arts, you know, a lot recently. You build certain routines, you get used to pain, you work on consistency, and you just go through the pain to achieve your goal. And I think once you do it seriously for a longer period of time, it becomes you.
My life is pain.
Exactly,
No,
exactly. So, okay, well, life is pain. Let's just go through this pain and see what's behind it. If there's some more pain, I'll deal with that pain
but
now.
not in a negative way. It's
no.
You know, if I see something, I have to assess it. If I'm going to go do something, it's like, okay, I'm going to go do that. It's going to write me off, but it'll be worth it. If I sit there and do nothing, I'll still get written off, but not as bad. Yeah. You know, so in regards to that, it's like, you know, with training, you dig deep. You know, you hurt, you recover, you hurt. You know, you go do it again. You're pushing muscles to exhaustion. They hurt, and then you go do it again. And it hurts, but you love it. You know, you get addicted to that sort of pushing that threshold. And that threshold is this. This is what this is all the time. It's mentally trying to overcome challenges. You know, you see something, you think, oh, most people are, I can't do that. I'll be like, I'm going to do that. You know, I've got to get through it. But it's just constant keeping that focus, keeping that drive.
And you know what, there's apart from overcoming this physical pain, there's overcoming of mental pain.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I know a lot of people who are afraid or are quite anxious of, you know, speaking in public. Yeah. And for me, going straight in the deep end would be a painful and awkward thing to do. But you do it.
Yeah. For me, one of my friends, when I was in hospital and I had my second round of ops, he passed away. One of my best friends, God rest his soul, and I got told that just after I come out of surgery, and I missed a call from him the day before, and I just think, I wish I answered that call, and I never got that, and he died. Someone told me, you know, this was when I was in hospital, I'd just been sectioned for because they thought I had coronavirus because it was just starting, and it ate me away. You know, it ate me away, but that was hard. And then his funeral was only the other day because it took so long. And I actually publicly spoke, and I'd written, you know, and said some words. And I'd never done that, but I pushed myself out of my comfort zone because it was for him, and it meant something to me, and I needed to do it. It's my closure. So absolutely,
it's similar sort of challenge as you know, going and go through 10 rounds of sparring with someone, you know. And then your coach says one more, and you know you haven't got anything in you, but you still do it. Yeah. It's like, okay, I've got this piece of paper. I have to read all of these things in front of 100 people. You know, it is hard, and you've got this little voice in your head telling you, don't do it. You're going to mess it up, and they're going to laugh at you or whatever. But you overcome it and you do it. And once you do it once, you do it twice, 3 times, 5 times. And after a year or two, you are a public speaker, or you're a boxer, you're a kickboxer, and you overcome whether it's a physical or mental challenge. And I think that's I'm going to be praising martial arts because they're absolutely amazing at it. Apart from the fact that you you learn to work in a team. You respect your colleagues, your sparring
100%.
partners, your opponents, and
It's a way of life.
It's such a school of life. It's amazing. It's absolutely fantastic. So obviously your recovery has been amazing. Okay, despite your ups and downs, because obviously it's been just over a year since the accident. Could we go through step by step through your physical recovery only? Okay,
Yes.
so let's go through certain muscles that you worked on more, what sort of improvements you achieved on certain parts of your body, things like this, what sort of exercises you do, how often do you do it, how hard it is, things like this.
Yeah. So to start off with, my legs were just vibraty. There was nothing at all. This one I thought was just going to fall off. There was nothing going on at all. This one I had like a slight little twinge, like literally just a tiny little bit of movement, and it eventually progressed. I could slightly go like that. That was for me when I knew I could do something,
So was it because of the nerve damage?
Yeah, the nerve damage and the swelling as well, I'd imagine, because there was a lot of swelling. But they were so numb. Like I'd wake up and think that my legs were crossed, because I didn't know where they were. That's the most weird thing about it. It's like, you have proprioception, like if you touch a wall, your hands on the wall. I didn't know where anything was, and it was strange. I'd wake up, the catheter would be underneath there somewhere, pulling round. But with my leg, when they started doing physio, so before that happened, I'd laid down. When I got stood up the first time, when I say stood up, I got to the edge of my bed, and then they sort of got me out of bed, and I'd stood up. It was the most painful experience of my life, like to the point where I roared, and the two of my friends were there. One of them went in the toilet and passed out, because it was that intense, yeah. And then from then onwards, I could do physio, which was good. But again, I'd get hoisted. The hoist make my bowels go, and it was embarrassing. I had no control over that. But then, say for example, got to physio, I could slightly move my leg. Not that much, but like they'd have it up like that, and then you try and bend it up and down, and it'd be like exertion levels, like 150%. Like you'd be like, oh, and it's going. Do you know what I mean? And it was like that for a very long time. And
you're happy about it.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, but I was.
Woo.
I was like, it moved. I don't care. I was so happy. Just the fact that something was doing something. My feet were blue all the time. They literally looked like they were dead, so just the fact that it was moving showed me that they're not dead, because I was like, oh, you could just cut them off and use them as blades, I'd have that if they moved, so. And then it progressed on to slightly being able to bend my foot and my toes. That I still can't obviously move my foot. I can move it a tiny bit now. It's hard to, like the beginning bit was all sort of a bit of a blur, because this leg, for I'd say after about a month, started actually sort of functioning. I started to get a bit of lift, which was nice, and then as it progressed, like it almost became like I could put a little bit of weight on it, but not actually stand sort of thing. This one was just done. So really, all my efforts was on this.
Because you fell on this side.
Yeah. Well, I'm not. The thing is, I'm not. I must have landed, on sort of that side to make it do that, or the nerves must have been worse off.
Yeah.
So I mean, that leg was sort of slow. It wasn't until I got to Salisbury where things actually sort of started to happen. Like in the bed, I'd always just sit there, bending my leg up, pushing it down, bend my leg up, pushing it down, whatever I could move, because there wasn't much. It's almost like little flickers, but you just keep flicking it. And then sort of after I got to Salisbury, so about 3 months later or something, this one sort of did a little bit. And then the breakthrough things for me was, first off, like being stood up in a standing frame. Like after being 4'5" for so long, 6'3", and it was like absolute bliss. I forgot how tall I was, and like things like that. Like for me, it was like a euphoric moment. And one of them, I was strapped on the bed. It went, just being like, having the opportunity to do that. But with the recovery, it's, I don't know, it's been relentless, because for me it's like just doing the same things over and over again. So the in and out movements, for my leg, but just this one. And then eventually when this one did start to wake up, I started trying to walk. It wasn't walking, I was holding myself up, and sort of taking steps through.
Okay.
And then with the physios and stuff like that, it's hard to explain. There was lots of moments where, I'd cry because I was so bloody happy, because something new had moved, or a bit of movement, or I could feel my leg, and it all came sort of periodically. It was like tiny bits, but in between you'd get nerve pain, like it felt like someone's shoving lightning bolts through your leg, but it'd be for like 16 hours, and you'd be like just like constantly.
Just nerves are waking up.
Yes,
maybe, yeah.
and I call it good pain, like happy pain, because when I get that, it's like, oh, something, yeah, come on, ride through the pain, you know. So, yeah, I mean, lots of that. And then when I was in the physio at Salisbury, I mean, you ask the physio, will I walk again? And they're like, I can't say. But with the most bland expression, you're like, just tell me, man. Like, but they don't know, do they? So, you know, I'd go in there every day. I'd do weights. There was like big bars, and the physio would sort of hold your leg and move it as if you were walking, and we'd do that over and over again. But it was so weak, I couldn't do it. It wasn't until after I'd had my second lot of surgery, and after then I managed to get up on a Zimmer frame. That was a moment for me, because I got up and I was feeble, but I was like walking like literally about that, like steps about that big, really small steps. But I didn't care. I was so happy on that Zimmer frame, like dragging myself around. And I went up and down that kitchen. It must have been like, I don't know, thousands of times, because I'd just do it and do it and do it and do it. And obviously there's risk of falling and things like that. And then I did crutches once, and it's almost like I put 90% weight on that and then put the crutches down and then drag this foot along, you know. And it sort of developed. This is probably 8 months ago this started happening.
So you started with bars.
So it started
then Zimmer frame, then crutches.
Yeah, then a walker.
Walker. Okay.
Yeah, walker, and then crutches. But the problem was I'd always like to get a little bit ahead of myself, so I'd go to the next one first, nearly stack it or fail hard, and it would always be when my mum was like, I don't know, in the other room or working, because I'd do it quickly so she wouldn't see and be like, oh, stop doing that, you know, because I know it's bad, but I had to do it, you know, and my brain's ticking away like, go on, try it. So that was good, and then obviously progressing on to being able to actually almost stand, like this leg supporting it, because it's almost like all the weight comes down through my glutes into it, so you've got no balance. It's almost like, you know, like you've had 10 beers and you've got up and tried to run. So when I took my first step, I cried my eyes out, you know, because I didn't expect to do it. You know, I'd been on crutches for a bit, and I didn't walk straight away. I stacked it first, because I was like, yeah, right, did this big pep talk about how I was going to do it, blah, blah. I took a step and folded on the floor. But then I got back up and I was like, no, I'm doing it. And I did it. And it was like, for me, that was like, you're nearly there, mate. You know, this is achievable. And inside my head from then on, I was like, right, that's it. Every single day, you know, walking, go to the gym, exhaust the muscles. I've got something called a sand dune stepper, which is like a mat of sand to get neurological feedback, you know, just going through that. But the amount of falls I've had where, you know, I'm just like, right, I'm going to do it. Next stage, blah, 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 take a few steps, lose balance, stack it, and it's like, okay, try not to snap your metalwork again, do you know what I mean, Mike? So it's pretty intense, but I think recently, like the best thing I've done was 2 days ago, I managed to let go, because I've been going to the treadmill on the gym, taking steps, looking like an angry penguin all over the place, you know, literally, yeah, it's quite funny to look at. I managed to take 40 steps without holding on, and I was just like, like literally a state of bliss. Like I get so excited and I can't help it. So what everyone thinks around me, and I'm going, you know. But
well, they must know you by now.
Yeah. It's like, it's that guy again. Yeah, no, but I can't honestly say how nice it is. You know, for me, when I get on crutches and I go down the seafront or something like that, it's like I'm the happiest man in the world. Even though I'm on crutches, it's like I never thought that would be a possibility again. So when I'm going down there, and even though it's at like 0.0 mile an hour, you know, I'm there with a big smile, cruising down the road, just loving life, because it's like, this is something that's taken away from me. It's given me a newfound love for everything.
Absolutely, you appreciate, you know, the simple things. Yeah. Which of the legs is stronger now?
This one.
Yeah.
So that one, I can extend quite well. This one, it's just really heavy. And it does. But it's getting there. And that's the thing. So the quad on this one came back quite quickly. This one, I'd say it's about there, and it's got to get all the way down there. So I'm hoping, you know, when that establishes, I'll be able to stand. And when I can stand, I'm pretty sure from now I'll be able to walk. It's just getting that initial, You know, it's taken so long, but well, not in the grand scheme of things, but
I was just
compared
going
to
to say
some
that,
people
yeah.
in rehab.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you've achieved this in a year and a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you have to consider the fact that you had this problem with your metal part as well. Which
So it's a
threw you
huge
back.
setback.
So considering that this is pretty miraculous recovery, really, because you hear about people who, you know, are in wheelchairs for 10, 20 years and then they recover. So it's
Yeah. I think
you would like it to be quicker.
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah. I mean, when people say, "Oh, you know, it's gone really quick," it's like each day felt like a week. You know, not just because of the pain, but because of the mental obsession with wanting to get to the next level. And unfortunately, I didn't have much patience before. I wasn't born with it, but I'd say through this whole thing, I have learned how to be patient. I still want it though. Do you know what I mean? That's not going to change. That's it's human nature, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's like my mum said to me, "Oh, you'd be happy if you're on crutches," and it's like, yeah, but I want more. Yeah.
That's it. You're never satisfied. You always want more. That's,
100%.
Well, that's fine.
It's because I know it could happen. You know, if I put the work in, it could happen. So I'm hungry for it.
What part would you say physios played in your recovery?
So I had some absolutely fantastic physios at John Radcliffe. There's a girl called Lucy, and her team were, you know, brilliant. She spent time going through with me, like sort of moving things, making sure I was all right. And then at sort of Salisbury, I had Claire, who'd actually started to help me move.
Is Salisbury like a specialist unit?
Yeah, Salisbury's odd-stock spinal unit. So, but there's I was there for, I think, 2-3 months, maybe 3.5, something like that. It's quite a long time. And in there, physios are like gold dust, you know. They're legends. For me, like, I'd see them and I'd be like, that person's going to help me get to the next level, you know. And they really do work hard. You know, they've been fantastic for me. I mean, going through, taking the time, you know, so they went the extra mile. No, I can't fault them. I just wish you had more time with them, because you'd have like twice a week or something like that. Yeah. So, but that can't really be helped with the sort of demand. And then when I came back, I had someone called Gemma Brown. She was really good. She'd come round, you know, if I had a muscle that started just firing a little bit, she'd play with it, push it, you know, make me work hard, but it started waking up. I think that's the thing. Like, for all the people that are recovering from something like this, it's like when you have something that's starting to do something, don't leave it, work it, retrain the mind, you know. And I think that's what I learned from the physios, is it's not just physical, it's mental. You've got to create that, you know, neurological connection to the muscle again. You've got to relearn. And that's why they say, you know, relearning to walk. It's not, it's relearning your whole body. Yeah. And everything feels different, you know. And so she, you know, she definitely helped me. And she sort of almost gave me, it's nice having someone there as a bit of support who knows, and you can ask questions, you know, and you don't feel so alone with it, you know. But when I sort of established, you know, I could do that without them, you know, I got to a certain point, I'd just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And I think, like, for me now, where I am, I've just got to the point where it's like, you know, physio would be good, but I need it all the time. So I'm sort of at the point where I'm teaching myself to walk, if that makes sense.
Well, that's the best way to go around it, just to teach yourself to be your own physio, your own coach, and train yourself. So let's move smoothly to now. Mm-hmm. So again, I've been stalking you. So for the last months, your social media profiles, they look so happy. You look happy. You post happy things. There's a lot of happiness, showing from your social media. What do you attribute it to? Is it you know, this fantastic recovery, things are going well? Is it coral?
Yeah,
is it a mixture of absolutely everything, that life, despite what had happened, is beautiful again?
I think definitely I've learned a lot. I mean, I had certainly a long time to think about what is and isn't important. And like I said to you about people, you know, with Coral, I've met her. I thought, like, who'd have thought you'd have an accident like this, and then you'd meet someone, like, we're like-minded. I get on with her better. Before this happened, I was with someone when I was actually in the recovery, and it was almost like I was being emotionally tormented, and I had to put up with it because I was in this vulnerable situation. So I would rather have been alone, and I made that decision. Wow. It was a big decision to make because obviously in that position you're vulnerable, you know, blah blah blah. And then now to think what I've got now, it's 100%, you know, the right decision. She's amazing. Like how we are together, it's like fire, you know, brilliant. I absolutely love her. She looks after me. We look after each other, but we enjoy spending time together. And I think the level, you know, your perception changes. And the reason I'm happy is because I've got good people around me, got good friends, good family, you know, a lovely girlfriend. I walk along and I'm happy because I'm walking, or if I'm wheeling along, I'm having it. You know, I've just learned that life is what you make it. And I think I'm just really lucky with the group of people I have around me, you know, and it's exciting, you know. This is, you know, as everyone says, the new normal for lockdown. It's the new normal for me, but the possibilities are opening up, and I want to go and explore it, and I'm going to live my life. You know, one thing I learned is I'm not going to sit there and do something I'm not happy with. I'm going to go and do something I enjoy, because life is precious.
Absolutely. Will you ever do motocrossing?
No. No, I wouldn't put anyone through. I like, my friends go out on the bikes and I look at them, I'm jealous. You know, I'd love to do that. 100% would love it. It's a passion of mine, but I'm not risking anything like this again. You know, it just goes to show how quickly life can change. You never think it will happen to you. And that's the thing, like, you know, I've led a chaotic life, done lots of crazy stuff. I've got away with, you know, a few close calls and stuff like that, but this has just banged everything right into perspective. And I think everything happens for a reason, and I'm the happiest I've ever been. And it's like this, you know, so.
Absolutely. Now, we need to talk about your ambition to be a personal trainer for people who suffered spinal injury. So tell me, because I've never heard of this sort of profession before. So tell us more about it.
You know, obviously I've always had a passion in training in the gym, but through my recovery, when I was looking around at sort of resources and people, I had a guy called Carl from Spinal Injury Association come around, and he sort of gave me a bit of hope and sort of said, like, this is, you know, life doesn't end when you're paralysed, blah, blah, blah. And I was like thinking, okay, that's good, but you know, how can I train? How can I get stronger? You know, and there's a lot of people, you know, that I've met through rehab and stuff like that, just giving up. And I'd go over and I'd be like, kick out the bum. I'd be like, come on, we're going to go train. You know, don't accept that, blah, blah. Or they'd be upset because their family, you know, are upset that they can't walk. I'd be like, do something about it then, you know. And that feeling for me, like when someone that I went to rehab with, I give him a proper kick out of the bum, motivation, you know, come on mate, let's go train, blah, blah, blah. And he walked and sent me a video of him with a walker, and that feeling, like, he said, thanks mate, this is because you've come and given me that motivation, that, you know, determination to go and train. That feeling was incredible. I mean, why wouldn't I want to do that? You
Absolutely,
know? And so obviously I'm training to be a personal trainer now. I'm like hopefully going to be qualified early next year, and then I'm also going to extend it on to specialising in back pain, just purely for knowledge. But I want to help people, whether it's people who are complete and can't use their legs, you know, to get strong, get active, achieve their goals, whether it's getting across a banana board or across a finish line, you know, or whether it's people who are starting to explore the fact that maybe they can walk, or, you know, their legs can work, and go there and show them that actually, yeah, this is possible. You know, I'm not an able-bodied person patronising you saying, oh, do something, when they don't understand. You know, I understand, and I've got something massive to give, and I can do something with it. And these people, you know, I want to go and change their lives, and I have every intention of doing it. It's just going to take time.
Will it be a combination of both physical and mental health exercises?
Yeah, I think for me, like, I'm quite good with people, like mentally, if that makes sense. Like, I can motivate someone. I really dig deep inside someone and give them what they need to go and do something with it. You know, that, and actually being able to do the physical aspect, you know. It's a package waiting to happen. And I really want to go and just, like, people who have goals and they haven't necessarily achieved them just because maybe they don't believe in themselves or something like that, or maybe they've sort of given up in other areas, and go in there and make their life vibrant, you know, give them that oomph to go out and smash it, you know. And that's what you need, isn't it? You know, there's not that about. And, like, why aren't these people being saved, you know? Yeah.
And with your unique personal experience, they would say, well, if Mike can do it,
you've got no excuse.
So can I.
Yeah, that's what I mean. No excuses. Like, you know, I just want to help these people, and I'll do everything I can.
That's Fantastic. So, what does the future hold for you? So, where would you see yourself in 10 years?
So on a personal level, I'd like to be able to obviously walk again, maybe run, build up my physical strength. I'm going to go hopefully next year. I know I can't walk yet, but I'm going to go do Mount Snowdon, and I'm going to get up there. But yeah, I'm setting up. I'm going to do that and raise money for the helicopter people that saved me as a bit of a thank you.
Have you been in touch with them?
No. But I will when I can do something, give something back, On a personal level as well, with my relationship, I would love to have a family. I'd like to have a lovely, building blocks like a house, something like that I can call mine. Get married, things like that. So that would be lovely. And then I also want to go travelling and explore. As soon as these can work, if they work, which hopefully they will, they're going to get used. You know what I mean? I'm going to go and live life. I'm looking forward to, exploring. I want to go on holidays, things like that. But ultimately, I'd love to have a gym that I can call mine and where I can get these people in and change their lives, But that all depends on what sort of happens. But if you're talking 5-10 years, you never know what's around the corner,
And I guess there is a lot of people who have these sort of spinal injuries. And obviously they might feel a little bit lost. What do I do? Who do I go to?
Yeah.
And then there's this guy, Mike Newman, and he, he's got his own little business, personal trainer for people just like you.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be obviously welcome for able-bodied people, but I don't want people to sit there and feel worried or scared about training because they don't know how or because they feel they can't. There's no such word as can't. And if they just need that extra boost, that little bit of just to go and make it happen, that's what needs to be done. But in between, then obviously I'd go to people if I could and stuff like that. But the future's looking good, because I want it. You can't just wait for life to happen, can you? You've got to go and make it happen. So
it's such an inspirational story. It's crazy because people very often choose the easier option. And it's not because they're lazy. It's just because that's the way our minds are made. And it's harder to choose, when you have like a little smooth path on your right, and then you can see rocky, sharp edges on the other side. But usually the harder path leads you to happier life.
Yeah.
And it strengthens your character and your resolve, and you're just ready for a cruel world that we live in a little bit. But you can find happiness despite anything that happens in your life, and you're a perfect example of this. I'll definitely follow your progress, and once you've got your qualifications, I'm gonna pop in with a visit so we can train together.
Yeah.
Bloody COVID permitting. Yeah, because if they're going to lock us down again, it'll be quite difficult.
I have to do a virtual workout.
Mike, thank you so much.
No,
it's been an absolute pleasure. How long did we go for? An hour? An hour and a half. Brilliant. Perfect. Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much again. Brilliant to have you, and good luck with everything. Thank you.